I'm Brooke Plack, your host here today on the Grit Crusade podcast. And I have the electric, that was the word I came up with to describe you, guest here today, RJ Hawk, also known as Representative Hawk, right?
Allegedly, yeah, that's what they say.
We're so excited to have you here today.
Man, thank you. You know, I've watched the podcast, and when you called and said, "Hey, you want to be on?" I was like, "Let's do it." I'm excited.
I know. I feel like we're about to have a really good time.
We're gonna have some fun.
Y'all are gonna be in for a treat. He's kind of a hoot. Yeah. So tell us about what you're doing right now. So you were previously, people that might not know you, you were a radio personality for years. How many years were you on the
14.
buzz? 14 years on the buzz. And like you have that voice, you walk in a room. This is the thing I love about radio people. They walk in a room and everyone like tenses because you know them, but you don't know what they look like. And you're like, wait.
You know what's funny about that? My wife is always like, could you bring it down just a couple notches? Because you like I'll walk in and we're really loud. And we were in a hotel this a couple weeks ago, and we're sitting there talking, and I'm just talking. Like, I'm just doing my thing. And the lady behind the desk, she goes, "Hey, I'm on the phone. Could you just bring it down?"
That
just
radio voice is like little
you just don't realize you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So now you've turned in your radio hat for
not totally, kind of.
Or that radio hat.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I was doing morning radio with Tommy Smith, David Basil, Roger Scott, and Justin Moore.
Yes.
And when I got in the legislature, I said waking up at 3:00 in the morning is hard, and then doing all this other stuff. So I'm not doing that anymore. I now am part-time. I go on once a week, every Wednesday morning from 7 to 8 on the morning show.
Yeah.
I still handle all the high school sports on the buzz.
Oh, yeah.
So for 12 years now, I've been the lead voice on all the high school state championships.
Wow.
On Arkansas PBS.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So how did that transition feel to you? Like when you finally were like, "Hey, I'm not doing that." I mean, that had to be a hard conversation. Like with yourself, with them.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you spend your entire life, or your early life, planning on what your career is going to look like. Right.
Yeah.
I went to school to be in TV and radio. That was my dream, was to be able to one day call the Dallas Cowboys.
That gave me chills. I grew up in the 90s, so, like Troy Aikman and all that.
Emmitt Smith.
Yes.
And, like, that was my thing. And so, when I came to the reality that, this was ending, or that I had to transition, it was weird. The weird thing for me was I literally went from being on the radio every day to the next day being in the legislature. And so you go from talking about the Razorbacks or talking about whatever to then you're talking about the LEARNS Act, or you're talking about, and your whole mindset changes. And so it really didn't hit me until the session was over, because I was busy.
And you also were in the session, you were a rookie.
Yeah.
And you left an area where you were kind of an expert, really. Like, I mean, as much as you can be an expert in that field, because I know it's always evolving, but then you became like the new kid on the block.
Yeah. And that's hard for me.
I can imagine.
It's hard being the guy that doesn't, I'm not saying that I know everything, but you feel comfortable about how things go, about your day-to-day routine. And then you go from that to now you're trying to figure out where the bathrooms are.
Oh my gosh, that's so true, though.
I mean, honestly, one of the biggest things that they tell you during orientation for the legislature is your first 4 weeks, you're going to figure out where the bathrooms are and know, like, the landscape. And that's kind of tongue in cheek, but in reality, you're trying to figure out just how to file a bill. You're trying to know which agency to talk to if you've got an issue. You're spending your first 4 weeks of the session just trying to do that. And so it was a transition. But as far as the question of the transition from radio, it didn't hit me until, I guess, our last day was April 7th. April the 8th was weird, because I woke up and it's like, what do I do?
You didn't have anywhere to be.
I didn't have to be at the Capitol. I didn't have to be at the radio station. It was funny. I got in the truck. I'll never forget this. I got in the truck that day, and I just drove around Saline County. I went to Bryant. I went to Benton. I was calling Robbie McDonald.
I know Robbie.
He'll tell you the story. I called him at 7:30 and was like, "Want to go to breakfast?" and he's like, "No, man, I got meetings."
But
and I was
like, "I have a job."
Yeah,
and you're like,
"I got meetings," and I was like, "Oh." And so I called my wife and I was like, "I know you got to go to work, but you want to go to breakfast?" So that's what we did.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I love
been good,
that.
though. It's
been good.
Yeah.
So you went through the session.
Yeah.
You were the new kid on the block.
Mm-hmm.
You learned a lot, and I'm sure we'll dive into some more of that. And so what are you doing now?
So a little bit of everything. I'm flipping houses.
Yeah. Were you doing that before?
We had rent houses.
Okay. All right.
It wasn't a full on flip. We would buy a house and throw some paint on the walls, put
Fix
some
it up a bit.
granite countertops. It wasn't really a true flip.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, we're taking things to the studs and
That's
totally remake.
fun.
Yeah, and so I'm doing that. I'm still doing some stuff with the Buzz. I'm getting ready to create my own podcast network. Just I'm dabbling. That's what I like to call it. I'm dabbling. I started a ice machine company.
Okay, so I saw that on
Yeah,
your form you filled
yeah.
out, the Hornet Ice,
Uh-huh.
and I'm really interested in ice. I know this sounds so strange, but
Yeah.
like passive income sources,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I've really thought about putting one of those ice machines like
Mhm.
at my facility because we have so much foot
Yeah.
traffic on our campus every
Mhm.
day. And so are you doing like coolers or like the machine where you put the thing in and then it all pours
You
out?
you hit a button and it just comes out. And
Yeah.
so, Danny Chisholm, who
Okay.
used to be on the Bryant School Board, longtime Bryant guy, he calls me up one day and he says, "Hey man, I know you're in real estate. I know you sell real estate." He goes, "I'm wanting to sell my business." And I didn't realize he owned it. I said, "Okay, yeah, what kind of business do you have?" And he goes, "Well, it's not your conventional. It's an ice machine." And I was like, "Ice machine?" He goes, "The Hornet Ice." And I said, "Oh yeah, I go there all the time."
Yeah.
And
So convenient.
so I was like, "Well, I don't really sell that kind of stuff," but I said, "Send me your P&L on it and let me look at it." And so I did. And I was like, "I want to buy it."
I am.
And so we sat, we talked, and he gave me about a month of training on how to run it and do. And I talked to my wife, and my wife, look, women, you guys know, like, you women are more, let's think through the processes and let's think everything out. That's my wife, right? And
Yeah.
I know you're probably the same
I'm a
way.
little more gun happy.
Okay, so you're
Yeah,
like I
I
am.
am. My husband's a little more think through.
Okay, so
and I'm like, let's do it. And then
yeah.
I'm like, oh shoot, what have I gotten us into?
So my wife is the same way as your husband
yeah,
is.
yeah.
And so I immediately looked at the P&L and I was like,
This makes money. Let's do it.
let's do it.
Bam.
So I tell my wife, I call her, and she does mortgages here in Benton. I said, "Hey, I'm buying an ice machine." She goes, "Ice machine? Where are we going to put it?" I'm like, "Oh, it's already got a location." I didn't really tell her all the details.
Yeah.
So we got home that night, and she's like, "Okay, let's talk about this for a minute." And I said, "Well, like the Hornet Ice that we always go to." And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "I want to buy this thing." And she's like, "What do you know about ice?" I said, "Nothing." I said,
It makes money.
I said, "I know that people go and they stick their credit card in it or their $4 and it bends a bag." And she's like, "Are you going to run it?" And I'm like, "What else am I going to do? I don't have anything else going on."
yeah.
And
So now you're an Iceman.
So you can, much like Top Gun, you can call me a Goose or Iceman.
Okay, you just named yourself Goose. You just went for it.
Well, let's go with Iceman.
Iceman.
Yeah.
Iceman. We're gonna go with Iceman.
Iceman.
But I still want you to get the
I
glasses.
get the
Yes,
well,
the
I've got 'em.
glasses.
Here.
Put the glasses on.
I got this right
there.
here. I'm
Yeah,
gonna sit here the whole podcast.
Yes, for those of you that are listening on
Yeah.
your podcast streaming, he's
Yeah.
got glasses on
Yeah.
right now. There it
Aviators.
is. Yes, little
Yeah.
aviators. I like them. That's
Yeah.
fun. That's
Yeah.
fun. Okay. All right. So before we keep talking about you, which I
Yeah.
love knowing about because this
Yeah.
is
I
interesting.
want to talk about you.
Yeah. Why?
I like-
Dia did that to me when my assistant that is back here running the production behind the screen. She came with questions, all these questions for me, did a rapid fire question.
Well, I do have a couple questions
Okay.
going back to sports. We won't do it now, but
Okay.
because for some reason, I just realized that you were like a hardcore Razorback cheerleader.
I mean, yeah.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
I had no
We've
idea.
known each other for like half a decade,
I know.
probably.
Had no idea.
What?
You know how I found out?
How?
My former boss, Justin Acree,
Yeah.
he goes, she was a Razorback cheerleader.
Yes.
And I was like,
Who knew?
I said she was?
Yes.
Yeah, had no idea.
I did. And Tommy and David actually came up to Fayetteville when I was more than once. And what is oh my gosh, the club that's off Dixon, that's on the side street that sells burgers too. It's, I'm going to say
George's?
no, it's not George's. It's okay. Down from George's and then off to the side, and it's pool tables and all the things. Anyway, long story short, that's where I go during the day.
Yeah.
And like, if you've ever been in a nightclub during the day,
it's
you're
weird.
like, this is so strange.
I actually come here at night.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
you're like standing there and like, it's just like me and Tommy and David.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey.
Is it the OPO? The old post office?
No.
No.
What is it called? I'll think of it when we get in recording here. Gasano's.
Yeah.
Yeah. There it is. There it is.
How do we forget
Came
Castanos?
to me. Yeah, there it is. So, all
So
right.
I had no idea about
Yeah,
that, but that's pretty cool.
Who knew? All right, so let's do our fun segment on here called Trivia in the Trenches.
Okay.
So I like to try to stump my
You're
listeners.
gonna do this.
I
I'm
love
terrible
this.
at trivia.
And I've had like 3 people so far that got theirs right, and that makes me super unhappy. So I think I have like this really weird like obsession with people not knowing the answer.
You want to prove people wrong.
I do. And I don't even know why I chose this question because I was like, oh, that's perfect for RJ. But here we go. Are you ready?
Yep.
Trivia in the Trenches. How did Al Capone die?
He was poisoned, right?
Syphilis.
No. No way.
I just wanted to see your face when I said
No
syphilis.
way.
Yeah. Okay, so kind of
You can
syphilis.
die from syphilis?
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. So I looked that
I
up.
guess back in the day.
Yeah, right. So he had signs of syphilis early in his sentence, and he became increasingly debilitated, which led after he was released for his 8 years of incarceration, and that led to cardiac arrest after a stroke. So the syphilis is
Wow.
where it started. I know. Think about how much time's
You know, he
changed.
spent a lot of time in Hot Springs.
Yes. Oh, I know. And I have like a mobster like ooh thing. And then we went to Galveston or Pigeon Forge, one of the two, and they have the Gangster Museum there.
Yeah.
And like OJ's car is there. Like who knows if it's really OJ's car? Like I don't know, but I think it's OJ's car. And then there's like this little like cell with like a glass front on the front of it. And it's all set up just like his cell was in
Really?
prison. And it has like a desk and like carpet. It's like it was like super
So have you
gangster
been to
bougie.
the Gangster Museum in Hot Springs?
Yes. I mean, I used to go as a kid.
So I met that. Like I know the owner of it,
oh
right?
wow.
And
I haven't been like in years.
well, you know that Kevin Costner now has part ownership in that thing.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So
and I think he's like the hottest guy ever.
yeah. So Costner now has a place in Hot Springs,
Oh.
and he comes all the time. And he's getting ready to start shooting a movie in Hot Springs.
Not Yellowstone.
No, not yet.
Dang
It's
it.
gonna be something else.
I just want Rip to come, but that's okay. Yeah. Yeah, here we
All right, so
are.
you're into Yellowstone like I am.
Oh, I'm a Yellowstone fan,
Like,
yes. Do you watch the spinoffs?
Oh yeah, 1883
Yes,
and all
yes.
or
The
whatever. 47
1912, 1923, 24,
Yeah.
whatever. That one has not caught my attention as
wasn't
much
as
as the
good.
1883. Man,
Yeah.
the 19 whatever that we can't remember clearly.
Yeah.
It wasn't as.
I watched it though.
I don't think I finished it.
I watched
Like I
all.
will,
No, and so
but I
here-
haven't.
So I have a pet peeve.
Okay. People
I-
that start shows and don't finish them.
I've got to finish the show. Like, so we watched a show. So I was guest hosting a few weeks ago on the morning show. And it was a Netflix show called Fubar, right?
Oh my God.
The single dumbest show
It
on planet
was,
Earth.
we couldn't quit watching it. We
I know.
watched it all in one weekend.
Well, we did too.
I know. We don't even binge watch.
And my wife goes, I feel like I'm not gonna get my life back.
Yeah, but like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I feel like it's been so long since like, we've like got to experience
Yeah.
him on camera like that.
Yeah.
That was epic.
Yeah. So what made me watch it was so I was like I said I was guest hosting on the morning show. Baz was in France and Roger went somewhere else, and so they asked me to come back and guest host. So I did, and
Because you're a nice man, you don't have a real day job.
well, it got me back in the radio.
Yeah.
But we had the girl that I can't think of her name, Monica Barbaro. She was the one that played Arnold's daughter,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we had her on the show.
No way.
And so we had her on. She was promoting.
I'm gonna have to go listen to this.
Yeah, so she was promoting Fubar, and so she's telling us like how great this was working with Arnold Schwarzenegger and all this other stuff. And so like we're like, I'm in. I'm gonna watch this thing. And the first episode, I was like, what am I watching?
It's amazing. It's so addictive though. It's a
Because
good
she
show.
was on Top Gun.
It was a good show. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know
and
actually
so
know that part.
that was my hook. When,
So you really just want to talk to her about Top Gun?
yeah. So when the producer calls me, he goes, "Hey, we're gonna get her on."
Did
She
you
was
ask
on,
her to call you Goose while she was on?
No,
the
like,
show? Okay,
I
yeah.
didn't. Well,
Call me
and so
Goose.
here's my
Call
thing.
me
Like
Goose.
I'm terrible with movies, right? I don't know movie lines outside of I don't read script. Script reads me off of.
Don't know.
I just stumped you.
I don't know movie lines. Trivia in the Trenches
no,
Part 2.
And now,
oh no, you don't know the movie.
What's the movie?
Yes!
oh gosh,
I don't read the script, but the script reads me.
yeah. Oh gosh.
Oh my God, this is the funniest thing ever.
Okay, I can't believe it. Take this out in post. I'll think of it here in a
yeah,
minute.
it'll come to you.
It had Ben Stiller in it.
American Pie.
No. I'll think about it in a minute. Anyways, but I don't remember movie lines. I watch movies one time and I'm done. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
me
wanna go,
too. I don't rewatch. My husband's watching movies
That's
like
what
from
my
his
wife does.
childhood. They're the same person.
Like I don't
Yes.
want to go back and watch something I've already watched.
Watch it one time, I'm done.
Now the one movie that I will watch multiple times, Friday Night Lights.
That's a good one though.
I'm
But you're a
all-
sports guy, and it's like, but it's also like a really touchy-feely movie.
Yeah, well,
Like
so I grew up in
heartstrings.
Texas, and so like I live Friday Night Lights. Like I
Yeah.
was, and so like I go back and
Where are
and
you
watch
from in Texas?
a little town called Athens.
Where's that at?
Do you know where Tyler is?
I do.
So just outside Tyler.
Okay.
So I grew up. I spent elementary through my sophomore year in Texarkana,
Yeah.
and I went to Texas High,
God.
and then I moved in with my mom in Athens, and finished out my junior and senior year in Athens
So how did you get to Arkansas?
to play baseball at UCA.
I didn't know that.
See,
See
we
the things we learning about each
Boom.
other.
And I played
God.
10 games. I was done.
Like they kicked you off?
No, I got hurt.
Oh man, what'd you hurt?
My knee tore my ACL.
Does it still hurt?
Oh, just when it gets cold.
Oh, that makes you
You
feel
know how
older.
like
yeah.
when you get older, I always used to laugh when people like older people
Like rain's coming.
yeah, like oh, you know, my joints aren't moving. It's cold. And now, like I'm that guy.
I know.
Like I have to like
I have
every
a bad,
night.
I got a bad hip.
Well, so
It's
like every night before I get in bed, I'm like it's like this hardcore stretch, and just, I think that I'm like making myself not shrink because you know when they say you get older, you start to shrink.
So when you stretch, you're trying to stay
So
tall.
like I'm trying to keep the 6 foot.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to 5'11". I worked hard to get to 6 foot, and I don't want to go to 5'11".
How long has it been since you measured barefoot? Like you're not going to do it.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Because if
because
you
I
did
don't-
it, I feel like you might be 5'11".
I don't want my driver's license until the day I die will say
say 6 foot.
Yeah, because they don't measure you. They say what's your height. I'm like 6 foot.
Oh my gosh, I'm so calling the revenue office in Saline County. Like
You
when
better
RJ
not.
comes,
No.
I want you to
No,
get
I'm
the
6
tape
foot.
measure
Because,
out.
Look, what my wife said one time, she goes, "I'm not gonna date a guy that's not 6 foot."
Oh, so that's where it came from.
Yeah. So I'm like,
I'm 6 foot.
I'm
I'm that
always gonna be
man.
6 foot.
I'm that man because she won't
That's-
date a guy that's not 6 foot.
She's locked in. now.
Yeah, she's like-
she's not going anywhere.
yeah, too bad.
But
How did you guys meet?
funny story. So I came out of a bad breakup, right?
Okay.
Bad. I was with this girl for 4 years, whatever. And being at the radio station, we get free tickets to stuff like concerts and things like
Yeah.
that. And so I had tickets all in the same weekend to the Arkansas Derby, VIP passes down the infield.
Yeah, how fun.
Kevin Hart.
Okay,
At
wow.
what was Verizon Arena.
yeah.
And Jason Aldean.
Yeah.
All of this is always a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so I go in. She was my banker. She was the teller.
Your wife or the ex-girlfriend?
No, my wife.
Your wife.
And so I broke up with this girl, so I got these tickets.
You just needed somebody to go.
And so I go to putting a deposit into the teller, and which is my wife.
Like
and,
back when we actually had to go to the bank to make deposits. Yeah.
which I still do, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm weird.
Rent.
And so I go, hey, are you doing anything this weekend? And she goes, my wife thought I was a huge douchebag. She'll tell you that.
Oh my
If you had her on,
God.
she'd tell you the same thing.
Were you talking in your radio voice?
No,
That
I was
might be
just talking to
why.
me, like-
yeah.
And I said, hey, you want to go to the Jason Aldean concert? I didn't tell her I had the other one. And she's like, I'll think about it. I'll send you a message. So I was like, okay. So I gave her my number and I looked her up on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so shot her a message. Hey, just want to say good seeing you today. And she's like, this guy. And so she agreed. She was like, she told me she just wanted to go see Jason Aldean. She didn't care about me.
Use them for the tickets.
Yeah. And then, so then
then did you come in with the, by the way, I also have tickets too?
And so this was on a Monday when I did this, right? So we had like the whole week.
Is Jason Aldean the last
It's the last
event?
one.
The last one.
It's the last one.
Okay.
So Derby's on Saturday, Kevin Hart's Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
And so that Wednesday, I said, hey, I sent her a message. Hey, you want to go walk on the Big Dam Bridge? And she was like, sure. Yeah. Because she wanted to figure out who she was going on this.
Yeah, date with. Yeah.
So we went. So I'll never forget, I made it to the top of the Big Dam Bridge.
You're like,
hey, by the way, no, I was in pretty good shape.
okay.
I said, hey, I also got tickets to the Arkansas Derby and Kevin Hart. Would you be? I needed somebody to go to that. She's like, seriously? And so she's like, yeah, sure. And so we did. And boom.
it was done.
And it was the single greatest date on planet Earth because we went to 3 events that cost me nothing, but she thought it did. And
You didn't tell her you got free tickets.
no.
Oh my God.
she knows now.
Yeah.
But at the time, no.
You're balling.
I'm like straight balling.
Like I can buy all the
Like,
drinks and food because I didn't pay.
we got VIP at Oaklawn.
Oh my God.
We're going. Kevin Hart. We were sitting in a suite.
You tied that up with a bow.
Oh yeah, and then you go to Jason Aldean and we're like
right on the
third row.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it was great.
She's like, he's balling.
Yeah, and then we haven't had a date like that since.
So, well, you need to get on it.
No, we have dates.
You can still
Like,
have.
we go on dates.
You can still get tickets. So
No, I do, and we go like the one passion that my wife and we have is going to concerts.
Yeah.
Like, we travel for concerts.
That's
We
so
go,
fun.
so I've been to 14 Kenny Chesney shows.
Seriously?
Huge Kenny
Like, do you
Chesney.
know Kenny?
Well, no, but I mean, I've contributed to his bank account.
Yeah, clearly.
So George Strait and Kenny are my two. Those are
Oh,
my
those
two.
are good ones.
So I've been to 9 George shows and 14 Kenny shows.
Wow, that's cool.
But we've traveled. We go to Dallas, Kansas City.
Yeah.
And that's our thing. Like, every couple's got a thing
Yeah.
that they do. Ours are concerts.
That's
We
cool.
love going. Pretty much if it's a country concert
Yeah.
in Little Rock, we're there.
Yeah, we hike and we travel overseas.
Yeah,
That's
I know
what we
you're
do.
getting ready to go out of town, right?
We are. We're going to Spain and Portugal. By the time this launches, I'll be back. So yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
that's awesome.
Well, so this is like my little travel caveat. So we were thinking about going to like the West Coast, like Oregon, like up that way, because we've never really spent any time up there. Go to the beaches, do summer up there,
Yeah.
maybe rent a little camper van and do all that. Well, like a place to stay for the week in the States, like on the coast, is like $6,000.
Expensive.
And I use credit card miles from all of our company's purchases, and we fly to Europe for nothing.
That's awesome.
And it is cheaper for us to travel in Europe than it is to travel in the US.
Yeah.
Like the food, the hotels, the flights, everything. It's just dirt cheap.
So I've never, and this is, people go, well, you're not eclectic, whatever.
You're not eclectic.
Or whatever it is, cultured. I've never been overseas. I've been to the Dominican Republic because that's where we went.
Super nice.
We went there on our honeymoon.
Yes.
But outside of that, I've been to Mexico.
Yeah.
And that was it. And this is going to sound really weird.
But if you don't want to travel overseas, it doesn't matter.
It's not that I don't like to travel. I love to travel. I have no interest in going to places that I don't have rights anymore.
You know, that's fair. There's nothing wrong with that.
We got a lot of, and look, I'm all for people that want to go do that.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing.
But if you don't want to, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Like, I enjoy.
You do you.
We got good things, and we got the Grand Canyon. We got all this
great things in Arkansas.
Yes.
Our state's awesome.
Yeah. So I imagine my wife wants to do the whole Europe, and I'll probably have to do that at some point. I do want to go to Australia.
Okay, so I'm going next year.
So that's like
I've really always wanted to go, never had a reason, and I have a friend getting married there.
Oh, that's so cool.
And she's getting married the day after my 40th birthday, so it's like my 40th birthday trip / we're going to stop by your wedding.
Yeah, that's cool.
And yeah, so we have a reason. We're going to Sydney.
I've always wanted to go to Australia.
Yeah, and I've done no investigation beyond. We have some friends that lived in Canada. They're 2 women. They're like in their 60s, and so they did 3 weeks in Australia, and they got a camper van the whole time and didn't rent a single hotel room. So that's what we're going to do for like the 2 weeks we go.
Because you got to go for like 2 weeks because it takes so long to get there.
It does. And so we're going to do the camper van instead of like hotels and Airbnbs. And then you can just park it wherever and you're not wasting time like getting in and out and all that. So
You're
we're going
taking your kid with you?
To Australia, no. To Europe, yes. So he's going on his first Europe trip and he's 5. So we'll see. Yeah.
How long is that plane flight?
So we're flying from the U.S. to Amsterdam, and it's like 9 hours. On the way back, we're coming Barcelona. It comes into Chicago, and it's 10 flat hours.
Woo!
Yeah, but I'm a credit card mile hoarder. So we only go overseas at least, it's usually every 2 years or so now. It kind of seems to be our rhythm. And I like hoard miles for those 2 years. And then usually I'm able to fly us like first class or business class.
That's awesome.
With miles. And that's just one of those self-employment perks, you know?
So funny story. We just went to Myrtle Beach. Right?
Oh, I love Myrtle Beach.
I hate it.
Oh, great. That was fun.
No, it was like, I shouldn't say I hate it. It was just not what I was expecting.
Did you think it was going to be like Florida or did you?
Yes. Like,
it's not.
Not at all.
None.
And like, so we took my 5-year-old and my 1-year-old.
Okay.
Right?
Are those the only 2 kids you have?
That's the only 2 kids that I know of. I'm just totally kidding. We go, and when my daughter, who's 5, we took her to. I had to go to a business trip. UCA was playing, the University of Hawaii. We took her when she was 3 to Hawaii, and we're like, oh, flying wasn't bad. Like, she made it. On the way back, it was a little.
But with one kid.
Flight. Yeah. And once again, I go back to women are better than men. Because my son flying on a plane to Charlotte.
He's the 1-year-old.
Yeah, he's the 1-year-old. Was a total nightmare. Like, complete nightmare. And I purchased first class because I was like, we're going to get the more leg room
seats
so that he can kind of move around and not. It was awful. like my wife and I were just like, this plane can't land fast enough.
Yeah. Did he do
And,
better on the second leg out of Charlotte or no?
well, it was only a 35-minute flight. So, I
So,
mean,
yeah.
he didn't have much of a choice because we basically went up and came back down.
See, when my son was young, so we like he flew when he was 2 months old to
Yeah.
Vegas. We had cheer competition. We had to go,
Yeah.
you know, do the thing. But it was when he got to that like 3-year-old age. You said your
Yeah.
daughter did good, but my son, he was a hellion.
Yeah.
And then now that he's 5, he's like, just give me a movie to watch and I'm happy, right?
Yeah. I need to
And
get
so,
him to like do the iPad thing. Like he
yes.
doesn't, I really think that my son is going to be just, he's not going to do technology well. He's just going to want to do things with his hands,
Like,
which is fine.
yeah, which is
But
good.
like,
Except for when you're on a plane or
when
at a
I'm on a
restaurant.
plane, I need you to watch the iPad.
Just watch the dang show.
I need you to watch the iPad.
Just watch the dang show.
Yeah,
Okay,
so.
so you mentioned earlier that you have a new project you're working on, a podcast network. What's
yeah.
it telling you? Are you ready to talk about that?
Well, I'll give you the gist of it.
Okay.
The name and stuff we're still going to disclose later on.
Yeah.
But my best friend Chris Kane, who
Okay.
used to be on Channel 7,
Okay.
he and I are partnering up, and we're both media guys, and we both miss it. He's not on TV anymore. He's selling solar panels.
Yeah.
And
Which is a big thing.
yeah, but so we just decided, you know what? Let's do something. We've got contacts with all these people, and what we want to do is the network, right? So it's going to be kind of like an online radio show, a radio station.
I love that.
And so we're going to take different podcasts from people and have one source for people to come, and you're still going to be able to go on Spotify and all this other stuff. But if you want to if you like the lineup, you'll be able to just go podcast.
So are you thinking like an app? Are you thinking like a
Yes.
channel on an app
A
that already
YouTube channel
exists?
and app.
Kind of like what I'm doing, but then like put a whole bunch of people that are.
And then like myself and Chris, we're going to do it's going to be just a sports, politics, everything mashed up into one, what people are talking
Kind of like
about.
daily topics type stuff. Yeah.
It's kind of like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
I know we're going to get into some other things, but just talking about life.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do one-offs to where we're going to get influential people in Arkansas. So people that people know,
Yeah.
right? We've got the contacts from our time in media, and we're going to just do sit downs on how'd you get to where you are.
Yeah. That's good.
Not so much business like what you're doing, like with the grit, right?
Yeah.
This is like early childhood. What was your life like?
Yeah.
Just telling the backstory that people don't know about said person
Mhm.
and doing like 30-minute one-offs.
Yeah,
So,
it like reminds me of like a new age version of like those documentaries that used to like air on like
Yeah.
ABC's, like Barbara Walters type stuff.
100%. That's
But like
exactly
new
it.
age version
Yeah.
of that.
So like, I didn't know you were a Razorback cheerleader,
Yeah,
right?
I didn't
And
know
so-
you played baseball at
yeah,
UCA.
And so like we would bring you in and talk about like your childhood growing up and
Yeah.
what got you into cheerleading and then into Empire and things like
Yeah.
that. And it's just giving the listener the backstory that they see what's on the front. They see
Yeah.
you in the news or in the media and what you're doing with your business, but they don't know how you got there.
Yeah. I love that. I
And
love
so-
that. That's got to have its own like little tagline.
Yeah,
Like a
so
whole.
we're kind of wanting to, Arkansas roots, something like that.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love the word roots. We
Yeah.
got roots on our logo for our nonprofit
Yeah.
foundation. I like a root person. That's good.
So, it's just stuff like that. And really it's to have fun. Like
yeah.
this is
That's why I do this. This is fun to me. I
Well-
love learning about people, learning
Yeah.
their story. What are they going through right now? And just that it's so interesting when you just take a few minutes to sit down and get to know somebody.
just to that's it. You nailed it. I mean, we are so busy these days that people don't have a chance to get to know people unless it's like you and I, that we have a lot of interactions and different
Yeah.
things. You don't really get to know people outside of what you see on social media
Yeah.
or in the news. And so that's what this is going to do.
That's awesome.
We're
So
gonna-
how do you turn that into a revenue stream? Advertising, sponsors,
Yeah, so
stuff like that?
Yeah, so part of my time on the radio, you build a lot of relationships with business owners.
Yeah.
Midtown Plumbing in Benton.
Yeah.
They're a big Roller Funeral Homes. Those are folks that know what I've done over the years.
Yeah.
And they say, we want to back you.
Yeah.
We want to support things that you're
When
doing.
they know your audience resonates with
Yeah.
what their mission is at their companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they know that I want to help them achieve their goals.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing. So whenever I got into doing my own business and even with the radio, I like to see people succeed.
Yeah.
Right? I like to see Brooke Plack take Empire and branch off and have other things, right?
Yeah.
I want to be a part of how can I help you get to that point? Like
Mhm.
what it may not be anything major. Maybe it's just, hey, RJ, can you help make a phone call to do this?
Yeah.
I helped you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not ever going to ask for anything in return. Like, I'm not going to ask for you to, hey, you remember that time that I made that phone call? That's not the point of it. It's just, I love seeing people succeed and I want to help any way that I can, whether it be a phone call, whether it being monetary, whatever it may be. I want to be able to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And so, and I think the people that have helped me with my podcast and with other things in life, that's kind of what I've learned from them is that it's not so much what can I get from you, what can you give, and you know if it returns a favor down the road, then so be it.
Yeah. I love that. I
Yeah,
love that. So we talked about how you went to school for media or video
yeah. I went
broadcast
for
or
journalism.
journalism.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. And so how did you get from journalism to the buzz?
So it's a funny story. When I was the first person in my family to graduate college.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Look at us first
My
generationers.
wife, my mom was 2 weeks later.
Oh, that is the coolest
Yeah.
story of all
So my mom was 2
time.
weeks later.
Did she go to UCA?
No, she
Oh,
went to
I
UT
wish
Tyler.
she did.
I know, that
That
would've
would
been cool.
be funny.
Yeah, no. So like I left my graduation ceremony. We had a little party and I got in the car and drove back to Texas and we stayed a week and then my mom graduated.
Oh,
And
I
so
love that.
yeah, it was really cool.
That's so fun.
But you know, I wasn't meant for college. I'll be the first to tell you. One of my good friends back home, he and I were planning on being police officers.
Yeah.
We were gonna graduate high school, do 2 years of community college, and then enroll in the Dallas PD.
Yeah.
Um, I ended up having a different route in life.
Because you had
Got
baseball scholarship and
yeah, and so I went to college. Well, when I got hurt, I was like, I'm out. I'm gonna go back home. I'm gonna do my thing. My mom's like, no, you're there. You're staying. You're gonna finish this
do
out.
you get to keep your scholarship if you get hurt like that?
Uh Partially, yeah. I mean, well, look, baseball scholarships are not like everything else.
Well, I mean, cheer wasn't either then,
Like
for sure.
I had my books and a meal plan.
Yeah. I had books my first year.
Yeah,
That was it.
So
Yeah.
like the word scholarship, it sounds
it's very broad.
it sounds very big, right? Like
Yeah.
when people say, "Oh yeah, I had a scholarship," and they say I was doing tennis, I'm like,
Oh, so you got $25 a week.
yeah, yeah. So you got but it sounds cool to say.
Yeah.
And so they let me keep it through the year, right? And then but what I did was, so I brought the baseball broadcast. I was the very first person to bring back the radio broadcast for UCA baseball. Hadn't been done since the 90s.
Oh, nice.
And I knew once my mom told me I had to stay, I was like, I got to figure out how to stay involved.
And figure out, yeah, do something.
And so I went to the radio station there on campus. I said, "Hey, I want to broadcast UCA baseball." And they kind of laughed at me. They said, "Nobody listens to baseball." I'm like, "I don't care. I want to be able to do. It's not going to cost you any money. I'm going to get to ride the bus because I was part of the team. Coach is going to let me do it. I'm going to ride the bus, go to every game, call the games. All we're going to have to do is have a board out back at the studio." And he agreed. He said, "Okay." And so I brought it back, did it for 2 years, and yeah, and so that kind of got me in. And so when you're in school, you have to do internships, right?
Yeah.
So I did a radio internship at the Buzz. I did one also at Fox Sports in Los Angeles,
Okay.
and just did it. I just did it. And when I graduated in 2008, the economy was in the it
Yeah, it
was
was
in
the
a crapper.
housing market
Yeah, and
crashed
nobody could find a job, and I was applying for TV jobs in Butte, Montana, and
everywhere.
and couldn't find anything. And so, got into construction and
Yeah.
was doing that whole thing. And I got a phone call one day and said, "Hey, we've got a full-time gig on the Buzz doing weekends for Bill Vickery. It's and paid programs. Would you be interested? It's got full benefits." I was like, "Yeah." I didn't even ask how much it cost.
You were
I
like, just
that.
a job.
Yeah. And so I said, "Yeah." So I went in, got the contract, $23,000 a year. Boom.
What year was
And
that in?
2008.
Okay.
And because it was 6
That
months
was
after school.
still not a lot of money in 2008.
No. And so, but I didn't care. I was
Yeah.
like, I got a job, full-time job, radio station. Boom.
And it
we're
was
gonna do
in.
this.
And that's what I tell kids these days that I work with. I'm like, listen, find something you love,
Yeah.
run at it, and the money will come later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I did the Vickery show and the weekends for 2 years.
And were you working construction during the week still?
Oh yeah, I had to.
Yeah.
I had to figure something out. After the 2-year mark, I got a phone call that they needed a producer on the morning show. And I said, would I want to move? And I was like, "What's it involved?" And they're like, "You got to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, go to work, and do the morning show. You get off at 10." I was like, that doesn't seem too terrible. Like,
Yeah.
get off 10 o'clock in the morning, have the whole day to do whatever. And so I said, yeah, let's do it. And David Basil, who is my mentor in life, like everything I do, business, whatever, I run it by him. It's kind of crazy, but it's just always worked out. We did that. Well, so David, I was only making, gosh, I was probably making
Yeah.
$35,000 at that point.
I made 30,000 my first year as a teacher. That
Yeah,
was my, and I was like, I'm killing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so David does the Little Rock Touchdown Club.
Okay.
He's done it now for 25 years.
Yeah.
And this was when social media was really kind of starting to take off with businesses. Like you remember there wasn't really when Facebook first started, there was no business page.
You had to have a college email address to make an account.
To
That's
make
when
an
I got
account.
my
Yeah.
account.
Yeah, I was one of the very first
Yeah.
Facebookers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in 2008 was when or I say 2008, it was 2010 was when they really started doing business
pages. Yeah.
right? Well, David's like, we need to do a Little Rock Touchdown Club business page, right? And he goes, I want you to run it. He said, I want you to learn everything about
Yeah.
social media and how to do it. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, sure. So took all these tutorials and everything like that, and we're doing it. He said, I don't have any money to pay you, but you get to eat for free and all this. Okay,
You can come to all the cool stuff.
yeah. Well, so I mean, I'm pushing this stuff out here. I'm doing and David, I'll never forget. David gets up on the stage, and Bobby Petrino was the speaker that day.
Yeah.
We had 1,500 people in attendance, and David's starting to thank all the people that helped the Touchdown Club. He goes, I want to thank RJ with Hawk Media Solutions.
And he just made that up on the spot.
And I'm sitting here, and I got my laptop, and I'm like, Hawk Media Solutions. Okay, whatever. And so I do my thing, and after the meeting, I got 5 businesses sitting over the top of me. They're like, hey, we need help with our social media for our business. Can you help?
Oh.
Simmons Bank, Genwealth Financial Advisors in Bryant.
Okay. Yeah.
Epic Men's Health, a couple others. They're not in business anymore. And I was like, oh, whoa. They're like, how much would you charge us to come set all of our stuff up and do it and set it up? I was like, hold on. I said, can I call everybody back? Like, I don't know.
Give me a second. Yeah.
I said, I will do it. I just don't know what to charge or anything like that. So I called David. David, what'd you do? Like, you made a company that I don't even know that I had.
Yeah.
And
I'm trying to figure out how to get a tax ID number and LLC.
Yeah. He said, he goes, just do it. He said, we're just going to go with it. He said, it's a way for you to make money. So I went and helped start Simmons social media accounts. They paid me $2,500. And I set it all up.
Yeah.
And they ran it. Genwealth Financial, I did theirs for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of built this thing. And next thing I knew, I had 15 clients that I was doing social media stuff. Well, then things evolve, and people learn how to do it on their own, and they don't need somebody. And so I quickly realized, I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work out.
Long term, right?
Yeah. So I had done everything to create Hawk Media Solutions, right? LLC and all this other stuff. I got into drones.
Oh.
And so
okay, wait. I've seen real estate. You do drones with real estate, though. I've seen those.
Well, see, everything that I've done kind of plays off each other, because the drones, I had a buddy of mine because Hawk Media Solutions was pretty much dead.
But you guys were the first one, like one of the first people doing drones for real estate around here, for sure.
For around here.
Yeah.
And I said, a buddy of mine calls me and goes, hey, man, he goes, you really need to learn how to fly a drone. He goes, you know how to video edit from college and stuff like that? He goes, you can go and start doing real estate videos and all this other stuff. He said, I'm doing it right now. He said, I paid for my drone in 2 weeks. And I was like, really?
2-week turnaround? I'm in.
It was $2,500 for a drone. I was like,
which is a lot of money, but if you can make money
for somebody that wasn't making any money at all,
it's a lot of money.
And so I did this, and I'm trying to condense the story, but I got into doing real estate drones with Hawk Media Solutions.
So when you were doing real estate, you sell real estate now, don't you? Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, but then were you also a realtor then or no? Okay.
No, so Jesse Clark.
Yes.
Who I'm now with Clark & Co. Realty, right?
Do you know he took me on a date once?
Really?
Yeah, he's probably never told you that story.
He's never told me that.
I met him. I was in my 20s and we were both single. I don't even know how I met him. And we all went on one date.
Really?
Yeah, he was a really nice guy.
Clearly he impressed, because it was only one date.
I know. I don't even remember how we didn't date after that or whatever, but we went on one date. I remember I was living in an apartment up off Cantrell behind Pleasant Ridge Town Center. And I met Jesse. He was a super nice guy then, super respectful, opened my door and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Former military, great guy. But Jesse, he, through friends or something like that, they said, hey, Jesse's looking for somebody to run a social media and do drone video. I'm like, I'm your guy.
I can do both.
And so I got in. I did it for probably 2 years, and he came to me and goes, "Hey, man, you really need to sell real estate." He goes, "You'd be good. You can talk to anybody."
Yes.
And by the way, I'm still doing radio at this time. I'm still doing all my
You're still
radio.
doing 3 to 10,
Yeah, I'm still doing 3 to 10,
but you have no kids yet.
no kids, no wife. Well, I've got a wife, but no kids.
No kids.
And so like after 10 o'clock is like it's like I have a second career.
Yeah.
And so I kept telling Jesse, I don't have time. Like I've got all this other stuff I'm doing. I don't have time to sell real estate. There's a lot that goes into it. I don't. And he kept on. This was probably for 6 months.
Yeah.
And so my wife and I, we were getting ready to sell our house. And he can of course I went to Jesse because I'm doing all these photos. And he goes, "Hey, here's the deal. You're gonna do the transaction. We're gonna walk hand in hand. I'm gonna show you how to do this and tell me if you like it. Whatever."
Okay.
Fine. So
Get him to quit bothering you.
yeah,
at least.
I'm just thinking like,
Yeah.
hey, well, just let me do your drone videos. Well,
and pay me.
yeah. And so he down and I watched him. Oh, it really wasn't that bad. Like pretty. And he goes, "Final offer. I'm gonna pay for all your schooling and all your licensing to be a real estate agent." Well,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
You can't turn that down.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was his very first agent with Clark and Co.
You were.
So
I didn't know
so
that.
what he was the first.
Right, but I didn't know that you were the first one to come on with him.
For probably 2 years, he was the Clark and I was the Co.
Yeah.
And and now I think we've got 10 now. But
oh wow, that's amazing.
But I mean, he owns the company, he does all that. But yeah, so that's how I got into real estate, was from doing drone videos, which was from doing social media from the and so it all
evolves
worked out.
like that.
Yeah.
And so now you're still selling real estate.
Yeah.
You're a real estate investor. You're an Iceman. I have coined you Iceman.
I'm Iceman, yeah.
I think that you have to do I think that's like a drug
Here's
thing,
the thing.
actually.
If you do sponsors for this podcast,
yeah.
I'll sponsor and I'll put a big bag of ice right
Perfect. Hornet Ice. There's my first sponsor.
Like we'll just every week we'll put a bag of ice.
Yes.
Right. Might get kind of messy.
That's we can get like one of those coolers or something. Like we'll put Hornet Ice in the front of it.
Ice
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Bryant.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're looking to add more.
Ice stations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you hear of like
ice.
people that want to lease me some land.
Yeah. How much land do you need?
Not very much
like
at all.
Square.
Like and I know people can't see, but like as big as this room.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm willing to talk.
I think we need one on my campus. I think it's a great idea.
Let's talk after the podcast.
Yes, let's do.
But yeah, I'm wanting to put more in. In fact, after I leave here, I'm going to look at one that's being sold at Brady Mountain. At Lake Washita.
I grew up going to Brady Mountain. My dad's a bass fisherman.
Yeah.
And that's where we used to always put in at. That or the spillway. I don't even know where the spillway is. I just remember my dad always talking about the spillway.
Yeah.
It like doesn't even, that's all.
I don't know.
Brady Mountain or the spillway.
Yeah, I hear there's good fishing. Like there's striper
Do you
bass.
fish?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I don't have time anymore.
Yeah.
Like if you fish, you got to buy a boat, you got to do all this other stuff, and
all the things that go with it.
I just don't. I do a lot of different things.
And you've got young kids
and kids,
yeah,
and the legislature and all this.
Yeah,
stuff. I just don't have a lot of time.
So what are you doing with the legislator now that it's like off season, right?
Yeah, that's a great question because like a lot of people don't realize like
that you're still
think that you're full time every day
for
in the
4
office.
months and then you're out.
Yeah, no. So like we do session every other year.
Okay.
So the main session. Then you have the fiscal session in the off years, right?
Okay.
So next summer we'll do the fiscal session. Right now, I go to a committee meeting about once or twice a week. So we have standing committees, legislative council and audit, things like that we have to go to. And so we do that. And then it's just constituent services at that point. So somebody calls, they have a DHS issue or they've got a veterans issue or whatever it may be. Get a lot of passports. Apparently people like, because you don't think about it. If you don't travel a lot, right? Your passport expires.
Yeah, but it's like your county clerk can do that, right?
But if you're trying to get if you're getting ready to go on a trip and you don't realize it expires.
Yeah.
Now what?
But you have to have like 6 months.
Not unless you go down.
No, I mean I'm talking about on your expiration. Like when you travel, you got to have like 6 months after you return. Like they won't let you just show up and it's about to expire.
And so that's why people call. And so, but what they don't realize is that the state rep doesn't get to deal with passports. I have to pass it on to Tom Cotton.
Yeah.
But but it's an avenue. Like most people can't just like
call Tom Cotton.
Get in Tom Cotton's office.
Yeah.
And so they pass to me and I send it up the road and then we get them expedited.
How about that?
Yeah, so that's the stuff that we're doing right now.
Yeah, helping people out.
I love to tell the story. When you run for office, you always just hear, I'm going to lower your taxes, or I'm going to fight for the police, or I'm going to, you always hear campaign promises, right? The thing I love the most about the legislature are the things people don't get to see. I'm going to bring this down a couple notches
Do
because,
it. Bring it down.
so I'll never forget. It was the second to last week of session, and I've got a soft spot for our military and our police, and had a guy call me, and he says, "Hey, look, I'm about to kill myself." He said, "I've been trying to get in the VA now for 6 months to get my
Oh
to
my
get my medicine."
gosh.
He says, "I keep getting turned away, and I can't." He said, "I just
I
can't.
need
I
help.
I can't do it anymore." And I literally sat on the phone with him. I said, "We're not hanging up." I said, "We're not doing this." I said, "We're going to get you the help." And the VA is all done through the federal government. It's
Right.
not done through the
Yeah.
state.
I've got chills all over me.
I
Oh,
literally called French Hill's office and got French on the line. We did that. French skipped session in Congress. I skipped session here in the House. I called Keith Brooks, who's one of my dear friends now, and I said, "Keith, these are the bills I'm gonna need you to vote for me. So I don't not represent the district." 2 hours later, we got that guy in the VA and got him his medicine, got everything he
saved
needed,
a life.
saved a life.
And the ripple effect of that, I've saved a family.
But that's the stuff people don't get to see.
Yeah.
Like, you hear about politicians and
You don't get
and
to sit on social media with a picture with the guy and go, look whose life I saved who was going to be suicidal.
but
I
I
mean,
don't but I don't want to.
but people need to know that that's the work that our people are doing
That
too.
it's not just about hitting the yes or no button on the bill.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what makes the headlines. The things that mean a lot to me are being able to help people when they've reached their limit, or even not even when you've reached your limit, like people that are having issues with DHS
Well, and
or
like the thing that I think that you like systematically from that encounter with
Mhm,
that man,
mhm.
like you systematically want to make improvements so that the
Yeah,
next person doesn't get there. Why
yeah,
is it a 6 month wait? Why is there so much?
yeah,
How do we systematically fix that? I think that's the bigger picture
yeah,
too. And to have more people that have hearts like that, that's huge.
yeah. And so I like to tell that story, just not to say, "Look what I did," but
Look what we can do
look what
together.
and politics is not always just about the yes or no vote. Like, it's about being able to help people when they don't know anywhere else to go.
Yeah.
That so much nowadays, politics has gotten so divisive with policy, right? With the things that hit the
Like I
news.
believe this or you believe that
Yeah.
or whatever.
But at the end of the day, it's elected leaders are done to not only vote on policy and the direction of our country, but it's also done on how can I help you. When I got on the city council in Bryant, I loved it because local government was the purest form of government to where I'm actually every day being able to help you in your life,
Yeah.
right? When you get to the state level, it's a little bit different because you don't have that hand on the community like you
Yeah.
would if you're at the local level. You still have a hand, don't get me wrong. Like, you're still involved
But
and
you've
still
got
doing,
more
but
people
rather
too.
than having just the Ward 2 of Bryant, which is the north side, I now have part of Benton, Bryant, Alexander, Shannon Hills.
Yeah.
I've got all these communities that need help. And so that's what I really enjoy, is being able to help people away from the capital.
And what a lot of people may not know that are listening is you didn't win the first year.
No, no, I did
You
not.
didn't.
Thanks for bringing that
You
up.
didn't.
No,
You didn't.
and what's funny is that I said I'd never run again. That was, playing sports, and I've taken losses before.
Yeah.
We all have, right? That was the single worst loss of my life.
I was
Um,
so happy that you ran again. Like that steadfastness is
yeah.
amazing,
I'll never. So at the time, the district went from Bryant all the way to Bigelow.
which is a way bigger area than our community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
way. But it was because of the rural district. They put 31,000 people in a district, right? And so Keith Brooks, who I
Yeah.
ran
Who and now
against,
you're friends with.
we're thick as thieves. That he looking back, he was the best representative for that district.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was. And but I'll never forget because I put 7,000 miles on my truck that year,
Wow.
traveling and talking to people and I lost by 21 votes. And it hurt, man. Like, and you know what's funny? Like how in movies you'll see something bad happens in somebody's life, and the next day it's like a rainy day and there's a cloud hanging over their
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
the day after the election. So that's sign pickup day. Like you by
In
ordinances in cities, you have to have your signs picked up by like 5 o'clock.
in the rain.
So like I'm driving and
I'm
it's
laughing
pouring,
at you and I feel bad.
like it's pouring down rain and I'm just driving and I'm like, oh, I gotta go get this sign. And it's the most miserable day of your life because you've just lost a hard election and you're having to pick up signs in the rain. It was awful.
Yeah. And so you ran again though.
I ran again. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so Shannon Newton, who lives in Bryant, she's
Yeah.
actually a lobbyist or not really a
Oh, she's
lobbyist.
with the Arkansas Trucking Association.
Yeah, Trucking Association.
Love her.
Her and James Miller, who is also a lobbyist in Little Rock, they both live in Bryant. And then Keith Brooks. I'll never forget, I was driving to Alabama to do a UCA football game. And I didn't know the districts had been redrawn. I didn't really keep up.
Because you were like, I'm out. I'm not going to do this
Like,
again.
I'm not doing this again. Like, and I'll never forget, I'm driving in the pouring rain, by the way. And Shannon calls and she goes, so you're in, right? I said, in for what?
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know. And she goes, they just redrew the district and Bryant's got their own representative. It's not going to have Pulaski County. It's all a Saline County district. I said, what? She said, yeah, it just got announced. You're in. I was like, I don't know about all that. I said, last time was tough. And she's like, we need to talk. Well, so about an hour later, Keith Brooks calls and he's like, you're going to do this, right? And
you're like, you're the dude that beat me.
And well, what was funny was because the district at the time was Pulaski and Saline County, he wore me out as far as winning percentage in Pulaski County.
Yeah.
I tore him apart in Saline County.
Yeah.
And we always joke about that. I'm like, people in Saline County don't even like you, dude.
Yeah. Because we don't even know who he is.
Yeah. And so, but no, he's a great guy. But and then James Miller calls, all in the same trip to Alabama. And so I said, I got to talk to my wife. I said, I've already said I'm not doing this again. And talked to her, and she's like, it fits you. It makes sense.
Yeah.
My wife's not political at all.
Yeah.
Right. At all.
Yeah.
And when she said that, I was like,
okay,
let's do it.
Do you have
Sorry, I get a drink.
It's okay. They can cut it out.
You don't have to cut it out. Look, I'm human.
Yeah, here we go.
We all have to get a drink.
That's right. All right.
I mean, you didn't provide water. Come on now.
You came in with a gas station cup. I didn't even need to ask you if you needed a water, drinking that soda over there. Okay, so do you have further like political aspirations?
I don't know. Like,
are you just like, I'm happy where I am right now and I'm going to live this? Like, do you want to be the governor one day? You want to be president?
I don't know about all
you want
that.
to be?
No, definitely not president.
Yeah.
No. I mean, here's the thing. I never had aspirations to get in politics. Like,
you just feel like it was a calling?
It was.
Or somebody convinced you?
Shane Broadway. You know who Shane is.
He's a legend in Arkansas.
Yeah, and he's a dear friend of mine. When there was an opening for city council, Shane says, RJ, you need to do this. You're already involved. You're already doing community stuff. Why not help shape our ordinances and stuff? I said, Shane, I don't know anything about politics. Like, I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
He's like, you really need to do this. Like, you would be the guy for the job. And I was like, I don't know,
and
man.
he's like the most Switzerland of all Switzerlands.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so we talked and talked and talked. And I said, what? It's a 2-year term. If I don't like it, I can get out. And so I called my mom and I tell her and I said, hey, I think I'm going to run for city council. And she started laughing. Like my mom's like, well, you're doing what? And because she knew I was a sports guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did it. And I loved it. Like everybody told me that I would hate city council because people would be calling, oh, neighbors' dogs barking and all this other stuff. It's quite the opposite. Like I loved it. And people would say, well, what's your aspirations? I have no aspirations. City council's it. That's all I want to do. And then the spot for state rep opened up. Shane Broadway called
again.
And he goes, hey, you would be good for this. You need to do this. And I was like,
sounds like Shane's your political mentor.
Yeah. And I said, Shane, I don't know anything about that's a different ball game from city council.
Yeah.
And so
here we are. Yeah, here we are. Is there anything else you want me to ask you about? You wanted me to ask you about?
I think we covered a lot.
You said you had questions for me.
Yeah. No, we're gonna flip this.
Okay, it's the RJ Hawk show.
Yeah, it's the RJ Hawk. We gotta get ready for the podcast.
That's right.
So let's talk about this Razorback cheerleading stuff.
So
I'm really interested. Did you do cheerleading your whole entire life?
Yes. So I was like 2 years old and got to
Yeah.
pick my first Halloween costume, and I
Yeah.
wanted to be a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And when it came time, so I cheered all the way through, and I was
Yeah.
a cheerleader at Bryant my junior year, and decided I didn't want to cheer anymore. I'm
Mhm.
not going to cheer. I'm done. I'm tired. I don't want to cheer my senior year. I'm going to go half days. I'm
Yeah.
driving. I got a job. And November of my senior year, I told my dad, I was like, hey, I think I want to try for Razorback cheer. And he was like, what? Can you do it back handspring anymore? I was like, I don't know. He's like, get a coach. So I hired the best coaches in Little Rock, and I was going 6 practices a week.
Wow.
And I tried out in February, and I didn't even apply to another college. Like, I was going to the University of Arkansas, and if I could cheer, that would be great.
If not, you were just a
Right.
student.
And so I was on a full academic ride, and I went just because I wanted to be a Razorback cheerleader my whole life. It wasn't that I was a huge Razorback fan. I just wanted to be a Razorback cheerleader. And so
That's
I
cool.
go up, I try out, I make the team. Probably looking back now, I'm the worst freshman that ever made a team there.
Really?
But I had a 4.0 and was on a full academic scholarship.
Oh,
And
that-
now I realize that
yeah.
those things matter,
Yeah, that
right?
totally matters.
And so when you try out for Razorback cheerleading, you have interview day and then you have skills day.
Yeah.
And I had like I was like good enough to not stand out. Now, by the time I left, like I'm a competitive person.
Yeah.
So by the time I left, you damn sure I was good. But I was a base, like, which into the cheer world means you're on the ground all the time. I didn't fly. So like I had to learn to fly from November to February to try out for Razorback cheer. Like I didn't know how to do any of that. And then I
Really?
spent the next 4 years on the road. And so I was there during the Houston Nut and
I was
Stan
about to say, what years was that?
2003 to 2007.
Okay.
So I was there Houston Nut and Stan Heath days. I have been through more basketball losses at Bell Walton Arena than
Yeah.
anyone in the history of time. But my senior year, we got to go to a bowl game. We went to the SEC championship. We went to the NCAA championship. My junior year, I got to cheer at the Maui Invitational in Hawaii.
That's
so
awesome.
I got to travel on friggin' dime. And at that time, we practiced in broils in the athletic complex. So
Yeah.
I hear after Bobby Petrino came, the cheer got kicked out and they don't
Yeah.
get to practice there anymore. But there's now a facility on the other end that used
So
to be.
I think they got their own spot now.
Yeah. But we used
Yeah.
to practice on the turf down there. And so, yeah, like Darren McFadden and Ronnie Brewer are
Yeah.
my age.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm like that. We were all
Yeah.
freshmen at the same time. And so, I still talk to Ronnie. He's a great guy. But, so it was a dream come true. I mean, it was literally like, you were a celebrity in a uniform.
Yeah.
Now, when you weren't a celebrity anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who you were.
Yeah.
But like you were a celebrity in a uniform. We got to go to all these great places and just support
As long
the
as you
team.
had the uniform on, you were
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and did lots of PR work for we did the things like you talk about nobody knows, like all the daycares.
Yeah.
We got asked to be at a daycare in uniform on a Wednesday at
Yeah.
2. Like we got to be there. But
Yeah.
every single time they asked like volunteers. Jean Nell was there for like 35 years, and her husband Mike was the
Yeah.
voice of the
Yeah.
Razorbacks forever.
Yeah.
And so I would always volunteer me. Like, I'm always going to go because, hell, I'm here for the uniform. I'm here to do this. So, I mean, I'm talking senior centers. I mean, I did everything.
That's
and
awesome.
then one year I was a sophomore. So, there was a red team and a white team. And so the white team was for like the JV.
Yeah.
And you could only be on as a freshman. And to move up to the red team as a sophomore was a big deal. And remember, I told you I was busting ass.
Yeah.
And so I made sophomore year, I made that red team. Well, they asked for volunteers to fly to Little Rock when the USS Razorback came in. And I volunteered, and they were like, okay, well, we have to see if an upperclassman wants to go first. Well, nobody wanted to go. So it was me and a senior guy and Big Red, the mascot, and Frank Broyles. And so I flew on like
Really?
a 6-person plane sitting across from Frank Broyles.
That's cool.
It's like in 2004,
Yeah.
2005, and just talked to him the whole way. And mind you, I still at that point didn't realize what a legend he was.
Yeah.
He was the athletic director.
Well,
He'd been
you're a
there
student
forever.
at the time. Yeah.
I'm 19.
Yeah.
And now to think back of that, like I had the whole plane ride there and back, and me and Frank just sat and talked about life.
Just
Like
kicked it.
just he had the newspaper. We were talking. I mean, it was
That's awesome.
it was an amazing memory. So it was really cool.
So you went from basically not wanting to
Cheer
do
at
cheer
all, and I
to
just-
now you own a cheer
Yeah.
company.
Yep, I do.
I mean,
yeah,
like-
yeah.
You want to talk about going total
Yeah. I was done with it. I just didn't want to do it. But the 17-year-old, you don't know what you want to do.
True.
And so, yeah. And I never really, I mean, in my early 20s, I was like, I want to own my own business. I want to do this. Then I got married like more than once, a couple times.
Yeah.
And things didn't work out. And I became a school teacher, like out of calling. I didn't even like kids. Like I never wanted to have kids.
Yeah.
Like
I was kind of the same way.
yeah, I babysat some when I was young, and I liked some kids, but like
Yeah.
not a lot of kids. And so anyway, it was when I became a school teacher, they were like, "Oh, and we need a coach," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm working nights. I don't know." And they're like, "And you need a job," and I was like, "I need a job.
Yeah.
I need a job." And so there I became a coach, and yeah,
So, I like everything because you and I are very similar
Yeah.
in like what we do
Yeah.
as far as entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
things like that. Why? I guess what made you want to go from being in the classroom to saying, I want to just do my own thing?
Well, it kind of just started out helping kids. I just started teaching lessons in my garage. And okay. So I was single. I owned a house in Bryant, bought a house over or Minton, off Congo. And I didn't have a car payment, but I had a rent house that was not rented in Jacksonville.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm broke and
Hmm.
I wanted to go on vacation. And I really wanted to go to Jamaica that year.
Oh,
And so I'm a hustler, you
yeah,
know,
oh yeah.
I'm a hustler. And so I was like, I could teach cheer lessons. And so I started teaching lessons in people's front yards and their living rooms.
Really?
And once I'd saved in a lesson for 30 minutes was $30.
Yeah.
Okay. I saved up $250, which would be I don't know how many lessons that is. And I bought a little 5x10 red mat that I put in my garage. And I borrowed my dad's open flame like propane heater and hooked it up to a propane tank.
Yeah.
And people would bring their lawn chairs and sit in my garage and I would teach their kids lessons. And I saved up enough money. And then pretty soon I had lessons every single night, all night. Like
Yeah.
I'd get done teaching, get home at 4:30, and I'd work till 8:30 in my own garage. And I was like, I got something here. Like there's a need in this community for something that's
Yeah.
not here. And so then I started teaching some weekend clinics, and they were sold out every time. And of course, former Razorback cheerleader,
Yeah.
using the tagline, all the things. And I was like, okay, if I want to do something, I need to do it now. And I was on the phone with my dad, and I'm like, what do I call it? And he's like, Brooke's Cheer Clinic, Brooke's Cheer Gym. And I'm like, I'm not building a damn cheer clinic, Dad. I'm building an empire.
Boom.
And that's how it stuck. And I was like, oh my God, that's it.
That's awesome.
And that's how it started as Empire
So
Cheerleading.
you've built your empire
Yeah.
around kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Have you ever thought, I know you said about the ice machine,
Yeah.
but like for me, I've got ADD a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So like I like to go, I want to do this.
And then I want to do this.
But I want to keep this going, but I also want to do this, and I
Yeah.
also kind of want to go over here and do this.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Yeah. So I have a really strong team. So one of the things I got to probably about 5 years in, I was like a stressed out disaster, like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Like, and so Empire's been open 9.5 years now.
Mhm.
So I was like, I need more training. I've tried everything I know to do. And so I sought out mentors in the industry, mentors just in small business altogether,
Yeah.
and started building a team of people. I really started building people about 2 years in, putting people in places to run things and help me. And so now like every department has its own department leader. So like the infant department or a
Yeah.
childcare facility, there is a person that's over the other infant teachers and their curriculum and what they do. Ninja, we have our Ninja department leader was on the show. Like he's
On the American Ninja Warrior?
Yes, he was on the show and he still
Really?
competes. Yeah, and he's
Really?
in his 30s. Yeah, and he's legit.
Those guys are amazing.
And he has coaches and they run Ninja. And so like I'm just a resource for these people. So I'm growing them to really run their own little
Yeah.
things within what we do. And
It's
so
like they have their own business inside
they
of
do.
Empire.
And
Yeah.
I'm the bank.
Yeah.
You know? And so
Yeah.
and they have margins and they have their own P&Ls and they have all that. But that's like stuff we've designed over the
Yeah.
years. And so we're opening the new building next door to our current facility, and we're moving 2 programs in there, but then we're adding like a parent workout area.
Gotcha.
And I look for what can we give people that they're getting somewhere else,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so then we opened the co-working space and event venue, right? And so
Yes.
that was like, okay, we've got all this kid stuff going
Yeah.
on. Let's do something for adults that adults need.
Yeah.
And so that's been really fun. It's very quiet there.
Yeah, I
and
would
so
imagine.
it's like cool, and you can like open a beer
And-
and work and
Yeah.
hear it. And so it's totally different than the, kid space.
See, like I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like quiet bothers
Yeah. Okay.
me because I'm a loud person.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
But my wife is the only time I'm quiet is in my truck. I don't turn the radio.
Is it like your think time?
Yeah. Like so I pray.
Yeah.
You know how everybody has like quiet time
Yeah. That's yours is in your truck.
when I'm driving because I'm in my truck so much.
Going between all the things you're doing. Yeah.
And like so quiet time for me is in the truck.
Yeah. Cool.
So hey,
Anything
that's all.
else?
No, that's all I got. I
That's
just
all
want.
you got?
Well, I mean, I could. We
Yeah.
honestly could do this
We'll
for 3
probably
hours.
have to do another episode. I mean, this was good.
Well, unless people
really
go,
good.
yeah, don't bring him back.
No, they won't. They won't. Okay, I have one question I ask everybody at the end of the episode. So I'm
Is it
gonna
like the
ask you now.
trivia?
No,
Or
it's
you're
not
trying to
trivia. It's
stump me?
over. Syphilis. No more syphilis. Okay,
okay.
we're good. See, I only picked that question because that was the answer. Because I wanted to see you giggle when I said
Oh
syphilis.
yeah, no, that was pretty
Yeah.
funny.
All right. So, what is one thing you've always wanted to do but haven't yet?
What is one thing I've always wanted? I told you I wanted to go to Australia. You're talking about business.
No, I'm just talking about anything, life, relationships, anything. One lady, my friend Laura was on the podcast. She's never kayaked, and she's always wanted to kayak.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I want to get my pilot's license.
Me too. Oh my gosh, me too. Yeah, we could share a plane. Share the rent space and
How
everything.
why don't we just call this the Brooke and RJ show?
I know. We're
mean,
the same
yeah,
person.
like,
I want to get my
so
pilot
when you
license
need a guest host for this, like you're so busy, just call me.
I will. You'll be the guest host for the Grit
I'll
Crusade.
do it.
Yes.
I mean,
So I've like looked in the so Jake Airy, you know
Yeah,
Jake.
yeah.
So Jake's wife Leanne's on our nonprofit board.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I know this whole bunch of information about Jake that I probably shouldn't know.
Yeah.
As in the
My
reason.
wife works for him, by the way.
Oh, okay. That
Yeah.
Jake wants to get a 6-person plane.
Yeah.
And so he's making up an excuse about why he needs to this for this
Yeah.
event that's coming up. So
Yeah.
anyway, and I'm like, I could buy his 4-person plane.
Well, here's one other thought.
Yeah.
I even told Jake, I was like, why don't we go in together and buy?
That's what I think.
We could go threesies.
Yes.
And it would be cheaper on
But
everybody.
he's the only one that's got the pilot's license.
Well, we could get ours.
So we're just gonna make Jake fly us around. So it
everywhere.
sounds like
Yes.
I like it. I
Yeah.
know. I want to get my pilot's license too.
So yeah, you know they do it at Sling County Airport.
I know, and I just need it. But like what I read
Yeah.
is like I really need to take 6 months and be like flying like almost every day.
Every day.
Yeah, and so that's what I just need to carve out time for that.
And they say don't do it in the summer
Okay, so
because it's so hot in the planes.
oh yeah,
It's not like you can turn on the air conditioner and just
there's no
go.
air conditioner in the plane.
No.
That's so bougie. I don't know. I've never been. I mean,
You're not rolling around in a jet.
Like
I mean,
we're not
it's the
we're
old
not getting
Cessna.
we're not getting a Falcon jet.
Oh, you're not. Hey, could you bring the cooler?
Mark, bring the
No, you're like open the
okay,
window.
I'm gonna wear a neck fan then.
Yeah,
I'm gonna wear a neck
But they
fan.
say like do it in the spring or in the winter because it's not so hot.
Yeah, that's true in Arkansas for sure.
And you won't get up there and just
Yeah.
die.
The reason I want to get my pilot's license is I know absolutely nothing about aviation.
Yeah,
and I feel like it'd be a whole
I know
challenge and everything.
drones. I had to get a
The drone pilot license,
yeah.
yeah.
So I know just a touch.
Are you still flying drones?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for being here today.
Man, this was fun.
It was so fun. I'm glad you're
we're
here.
gonna have to do this again.
Yeah, we
when
will.
I get mine up, you're gonna have to come on mine.
Yay, that'd be
Yeah.
fun. I've never been on anyone else's podcast.
What?
I just started my own and have like 30 episodes now. I know.
Yeah, no,
I've had some people call me, but it's not that I've said no. I'm not being rude.
Yeah.
But logistically, I'm working on some timelines with people and
Well,
stuff.
and here's
So yeah.
the thing: going on somebody else's podcast via Zoom is not. It's not like being on a podcast.
Okay, so I'm learning about that because I'm fixing to have my first remote guest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my production team's like sending something to him, like a mic and stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, a lot of times people just use their computer and zoom in, right?
Yeah.
Because the audio quality is great. Still.
Okay.
But it doesn't have the same feel of sitting
Yeah,
here.
it doesn't. Yeah, for
because
sure.
you're talking to just like FaceTime.
Yeah.
And it's just not it doesn't feel the same.
It's good, but not as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Until next time.
You've been listening to the Grit Crusade podcast with Brooke Plack. Our theme song is Thunder City by Lunar Ray, licensed through Soundstripe. This podcast was produced by Luminate Media Group. Thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.